Hello everyone and welcome to another trick guide video, and today we got Sardegna Road Track A, but this time it's gonna be in reverse. And I'll be using this Alfa because it's kind of the fastest car around the circuit. I mean, it has incredible acceleration and the handling of this car is just incredible. I mean, you can take something like a Genesis, you can take a WRX, but I don't think anything can be as fast as the Alfa in here. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and without further ado, let's get going. Starting with the lap, and I have to say, just try to be careful as you exit the hairpins. So there's a couple of corners where you just have to be careful, and this is the first one. It's not a hairpin, but you just have to be careful. So I usually aim for this kind of end of this little triangle on the right, and I try to cut the curb, but not really cutting it that much. So just a little lift, and you always want to give yourself a little bit of that space on the right. But here, if the speed is right, you can brake at a 110. I would try to brake usually just before, I would say just before the 100. Taking the inside of this curb, yeah, it helps, but you need to focus on kind of stabilizing the back end of the car with a little bit of that progressional throttle inputs, and then really smashing the power down. Here, just before the end of the curb, you start to turn in, lift, and then quickly get back on the power. So I was cutting the track here a little bit. I mean, it wasn't that much, and I was actually able to maintain the speed, so it wasn't that bad. So here, I try to turn in at this point, and I always have this kind of as a marker, but do not get on the brakes 100% until the car is completely straight. Otherwise, as you've probably seen in a lot of races, if you raced here, you could probably see that the cars can get quite loose, and especially if you have full load of fuel, yeah, it can be quite difficult to get the hang of this car. So just have to be very easy with the brakes, and then when the car is straight, this is when you brake. So here I'm going to be looking at the left hand side, and yeah, marshals, kind of marshals, but just as you pass the marshals, brake in the straight line until you reach this point. So you can see I already started to turn in, but this is just an indicator, this is just a marker on the track. So I always try to get the speed into this turn, but yeah, the only reference that I have in here is the shadow. And the shadow is only here in very specific weather, and yeah, you can use it, but it's not always going to be there. So I think it's about half of the way into the corner. This is where you just get on the power. But here, at about 75 meters in between the 50 and the 100 meter sign, I brake and I start to turn at the end of the curb. I was a little bit late. You can even get to the inside of that curb. Early on the power in second, which rotates the car, and early once again in third gear, and just cut this part as much as you can. So don't cut it too much over the grass because you will lose time, but just as you get to the inside of that curb, that helps. That definitely helps. Something like that even here inside of the curb, brake very easy at the apex. So I'm talking about 15-20% of the braking until you reach this point. It's kind of the same scenario as I was talking before in the hairpin. Just brake straight now, turn in, and just as you reach the curb, put the power down. So don't hesitate to put the power down, just be on the power. It's like 0 to 100 in no time. And eventually my exit was pretty good, even though I lost a bit of time as I was going in that last section. So it was a 48.0. It can be much faster. I'm not saying that it couldn't. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I hope this video helped you guys, and if it did, you can always smash the like button. You can always subscribe to my channel if you feel so. And yeah, thank you once again for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye. Let's see. it can be